Free Japan Channel FJC. Today, December 11th, Monday, here in Yokohama, 2023. The time is 5 p.m. December 5 p.m. So the outside is totally dark. Night has already begun. The city light of Yokohama is very beautiful tonight. Dear listeners, how are you doing? FGC's today's topic is Korean War, which lasted from 1950 to 1953. So it continued for 3 years. The Korean War changed the stream of Japanese history, post-war history, as well as world history. So this is a very important historical event, but perhaps in English-speaking society, this war is not so explained adequately. So today, FGC, we try to explain the war of Korean Peninsula after the World War II. Korean Peninsula was occupied by Japan for 36 years from 1910 to 1945. In 1945, Japan was defeated by the United States and the Japanese influence vanished from the Korean Peninsula. Then the power vanished. The vacuum was filled by the Soviet influence and United States influence, American influence. The northern part of Korean Peninsula was occupied by the Soviet agents, and the southern part was occupied by the US agents. So immediately after the World War II, the Korean Peninsula was divided into two parts. And geographically speaking, the 38 degree of northern latitude was the suitable line to divide the peninsula into two parts. Then, 1948, 3 years after the end of the war, the South Korea declared its independence, and North Korea also declared its independence. The leader of South Korea was Lee Sung-man, and the leader of North Korea was Kim Il-sung. At the time, Korean Peninsula was a very poor area, but relatively speaking, the northern part of the peninsula was developed in the industrial area. Japanese colonial policy was that in the northern part of the peninsula should be developed as an industrial area, and the southern part of the peninsula should be developed as an agricultural area. After the end of the World War II, the northern part had the remnant of Japanese factories, power plants, and so on. So the Northern Korea could utilize these facilities which Japan or Japanese left there. And the 1950 June 25th at 4 a.m. means dawn. The North Korean army suddenly transgressed the territory of South Korea. And South Korea was unprepared, so it had no choice but to recede to the southern part of the Korean Peninsula. and it was unexpected assault from the North Korea. At first, the Korean War proceeded in favor of the North Korea, of course, and Kim Il-sung expected to defeat the South Korea by the 15th August 1950. As I said, the start of the war was June 25th. Therefore, Kim Il-sung predicted that this war would end within the 2 months. As Kim Il-sung anticipated, the North Korean army proceeded and proceeded. Unprepared South Korean army was defeated and defeated. Finally, the South Korean army was confined in Busan city. So Busan city was only the fortress of the South Korea, and North Korea was about to win this war. If they defeated the South Korean army in Busan, then the whole peninsula will be socialist country. But at this time, General MacArthur, Douglas MacArthur, was at the time in Tokyo, occupying Japan, defeated Japan, and he decided to go to Korean Peninsula to help the South Korean army, and he planned the Incheon operation. Incheon operation means Incheon is located in the central part of the peninsula, so it is near from the border between North Korea and South Korea, and MacArthur planned to land on Incheon, and he tried to attack the North Korean army from north. Then the Busan army could proceed northward. This two-directional operation would be effective, as MacArthur put it. And his prediction was right. The South Korean army was rescued by this operation of General MacArthur, and North Korean army retreated to the northern part of the peninsula. So the border between north and south remained still south 8 degrees northern latitude. And afterwards, General MacArthur wanted to proceed, so transgress the border, and he wanted to reduce the Northern Korea to nothing. So he wanted to destroy the socialist country from this peninsula. And Washington also approved of MacArthur's proposal. So MacArthur put forward his army to the northern part, and this time the North Korean army was defeated, and it receded to the border with China. And this time China invaded, or China decided to get involved in this war. Washington government was very careful not to offend the Soviet Union. If Soviet Union intervened, this would lead to the Third World War, and it was a very bad choice for the American government. And this time, China entered this war, not Soviet Union. So Stalin also realized that if he had invaded, or if he had participated in this war, then this war would not have been the regional war, but the world war. So Stalin was also hesitant. But Mao Zedong, the leader of China at that time, decided to go to Northern Korea. Then the reinforced North Korean army was rescued then. And this army could go down to the central part of the peninsula. Then the border still remained 38-degree northern latitude. This is the process of the first year of Korean War, and the last 2 years was negotiation time, so to speak. So there was no systematic battle or serious conflict between North and South. And finally, in 1953, both countries agreed to armistice, not the end of the war, but armistice. So the Korean Peninsula is still now in the state of armistice. It is not a peaceful state. So in the modern era, so 2023 now, even now both countries were hostile to each other, and the Panmunjom, the city, not city but town on the border, was or is guarded by both soldiers. Speaking of Japan, Japanese economy recovered from this war because the United States Army or Navy ordered everything to Japanese manufacturers. War needs everything from raw material to high-tech products, and Japan could recover from the wound of the World War II. The worldwide famous Toyota automobile company was also saved by this war. Toyota was on the brink of bankruptcy at that time because there was no demand for automobile soon after the war in domestic market in Japan. But the US Army and Navy ordered so huge scale of automobiles and truck dump cars to Toyota, and Toyota could get the starting point to recover from the war. Toyota was a symbol of the recovery, but not only Toyota, of course, but also many other factories or companies in Japan could be saved by the demand of this war. So, from this Japanese point of view, Korean War was, in one word, the bonus from the heaven. But in Korea, so many victims and so many people were killed in the war. 2 million Korean people were dead during 3 years. And North Korea and South Korea, both countries were very suspicious to each other. So they cracked down many innocent people, and executed. So it is not North Korea's action that the country leader ordered execution. In South Korea was also public execution was conducted. There was so many cruel evidence at that time. Of course, modern Koreans would not say anything about this event. and many families were separated during the war. And for 40 years or so after the Korean War, both countries had no contact with each other, so the families remained separate for 40 years. And gradually in 80s and 90s, these separated family members could meet each other. But it was too late. The mother became an old woman. The young boy became a father. Korean War was literally the tragedy for Korean Peninsula or Korean modern history. But for Japan, it's another story. Japan could get the clue to the post-war economic growth era by this war. And perhaps I think that some reason for Korean antipathy to Japan or Japanese is in this war. Koreans also realized that Japan began to develop economically after the Korean War. Then they thought that Japan could succeed at the expense of Korea. Then it is not interesting story at all for Korean people. Perhaps the hostility or acrimony of Korean people to Japan consists in this war. Thank you.